I can start today's walkabout by showing you something I'm just super excited about, and that's all these leaves on the ground. I use leaves for so many things. I use them as mulch. I use them as leaf mold, which I leave sitting for, well, I guess about 2 years behind the garage, where the worms come in and the rain comes down, and it just turns out to be beautiful soil. And I have started my garden with that particular soil, this leaf mold, which I had about 20 bags of it, so 20 huge black bags, and that went into the raised beds and also the container gardens. Just beautiful, rich, worm-filled soil, which I get extremely excited about. So here we go again, but this won't be ready for a while. I just hope I don't use it all on mulch. But that's the way it first began. Melody said, "Who planted leyland pines?" I planted 5. That was almost 2 years ago. These are 2 of them. They're growing beautifully. I just love them. The other 3 look just like this. I couldn't be happier. How are yours doing, Jerry? 55 you said you planted? Good luck. These are the apple trees I planted in the fall of 2019. This one here that doesn't look too good. Fruited. I got 4 apples from it, Granny Smith. 1 fell off prematurely, the other 3 were eaten by deer. I need to do something with those roots that are growing up, the shoots on the tree. I want to either graft them onto this one, which did not fruit at all last year. Looks much better. I hope that this one will be a producer next year. Definitely is a better looking tree than this one, but I'm not sure what to make of it. I guess I'll see what happens next year. I'll cut it back, prune it hard, and hope to get some kind of fruit from it. This was a huge problem for me this year. This is an anthill. They are popping up all over my yard. They're in the garden. I chased 1 ant colony completely around a raised bed, container garden, and they are still there. I've tried everything. I've tried borax, diatomaceous earth. Nothing gets rid of them. They just keep spreading. Lovely little creatures. They're all over the place. Don't know what to do. I'll take any advice you've got. Not sure if you noticed, but I love crates. I have crates all over the place. I find good uses for them. This is my grapevine. I was inspired by our very first walkabout with, I think it was Dr. Longwood. However, I've got lots of trees growing in here. I tried to thin them out, but now I'm thinking about moving the grapevine and letting the trees grow, because I love maples. I could use some trees around here. And I could put the grapevine somewhere else. I have lots of space for it. These are my blueberry bushes. They did very well. I believe the one on the right is a rabbit eye. The one on the left is high bush. Don't know if you can see them, but this is their 3rd year and they produced a lot. I still have a lot of them frozen. It should last me through December anyway, because I eat a lot of blueberries. There's a few more of the leyland pines, also doing very well. They're just growing fantastically. I don't know what I... Landscaping wasn't a strong point this year. I really couldn't concentrate on flowers. I needed to get my garden in. There's lots of construction that I had to do. But in case you haven't noticed, there's a turmeric plant just about everywhere you look. There's my turmeric crops. I needed to do this walkabout because these turmeric crops are going to be harvested either today or tomorrow. I'm going bye-bye. Going to put away for another year. Also on my deck throughout the summer I had this lemon tree and orange tree. I brought them in and hopefully before the frost hit, but it seems I'm losing some leaves on them. I have 1 really big lemon right here and 3 very small ones. Lots of buds on this tree. The room in here is going to smell really good once these buds start to open up. And next year it looks like I'm going to have a lot of lemons on here. So hopefully it survives and I didn't kill it off by leaving it out too long. No fruit on the orange tree. Not sure what's happening with that. Fertilizing it, trying to protect it. See what happens. This is one of 2 columnar apple trees that I have. This did not fare well from the very beginning. However, I do now see new growth and new buds on it, so I have hope for next year. This was standing tall, straight up and down. Then I realized the reason why it fell over was because the base, the dirt inside, was loaded with ants. It had a huge ant colony in there. What else is new? It's been a problem for me everywhere that I've turned. Ants are everywhere. I have just bought some 7, so I think I'm just going to go around the garden and use the 7. I didn't want to do that. But the second columnar apple tree, which is there in that bucket, did very well, and we were eating apples off of it. Again, I hope to get a head start on it next year, not let any aphids, diseases, or ants take hold, and I will just do the best I can with all of my fruit trees. I had too many things to juggle this year, getting everything off the ground, so I really wasn't prepared to do the best job that I could. We'll see what happens next year. Well, this is my compost pile. I have lots of volunteers in there. And like Jerry, I just cannot bring myself to pull them. So here they are. Potatoes and tomatoes. Don't look too bad either. The one on the left has been going for about 2 years. It'll be ready for use in the spring. The one on the right is a new build, and that probably won't be ready for 2 years. Got lots of stuff I want to add to it, so it's going to be real high before I get a chance to dig into it. And they're just doing great. Lots of worms in there. Loving it. This is one of my worm compost bins, one of 5 or 6, and I got quite a few. You can see volunteers growing in there as well. But this bin is done. It's ready to be harvested, and that I will be using next spring as well in the garden. Throughout the spring and the summer last year, or this past year, I kept all my greens that I have accessible to my kitchen, which are spinach, kale, chard, dandelion, and collards. I kept them, oh, and this was mustard, arugula, and lettuce. I kept the container gardens on the deck for the entire year. I had no problems with animals getting into them, no cats, no bad situations. All my herbs I grew in here, and that worked out well for me too. The frost has just about polished off everything that was growing in here. Thyme is still doing well. Parsley, basil, everything else is wilted. I think I'm going to start some of that indoors this year and make sure I can keep that going as well. Turmeric is pretty much everywhere you look. So within the course of the next day or 2, all this turmeric here and here is going to be harvested. It's going to go back into a bucket of peat moss and coconut coir and be put away for next year. In this little bed here I have some ginger. It didn't make it, it just didn't thrive. I had a bad ant problem in here for most of the year, and it just never came back. I have a few volunteer tomato plants growing in there. They didn't do well because they weren't fertilized, because I didn't see them till the end of the year. But that's going to get yanked out now too. I think what I'm going to do with these beds is put in some onion and garlic. I need new beds for next year. I can't keep growing turmeric in these beds. That just won't work. This is where I'm solarizing a little piece of stretch of land. It's going to be my corn crop next year. Again, I'm going to do the 3 sisters. I'll be planting my melons, my pumpkins, pole beans, and different kinds of corn. One at one end, the other at the other end. See what we get. I'm going to put a gate in here so I could get from the shed behind me into the garden more easily. This little area here in the corner is going to be bird friendly. I'll have the bird bath and bird feeder here. The birds love this garden. They're always in here, and I just want to keep them coming back for more. Flowers will be planted around the outside, especially on the other side. I've got big plans for a medicinal garden, and we'll just keep expanding. These little buggers are my IPM. They're my guinea fowl. They eat pretty much every moving thing that happens onto this land. They love the hay fields, but however, they pretty much stay right on the grass around the garden, around the yard. They eat grasshoppers, crickets. We have no tick problem. We have pretty much no pest problem at all. Some grasshoppers come in from the hay fields, but you know, they pretty much are not a problem. There's so few of them. Like I said, there have been no ticks at all, not one single tick, and both my dogs run in these hay fields, so we're pretty lucky as that. The downside is I no longer have any toads, haven't seen any frogs, and there aren't any lizards around. So that's definitely a downside to having guineas. Like I said, they eat everything. Well, today I hope to get most of the peanuts harvested. I've only got one row of them, but they're doing pretty good. I have about 2 or 3 plants pulled out, and that's what I've got from it. And the plants will get mulched back into next year's second row of peanuts. I think you have to dry the peanuts for about 6 weeks before you can eat them or roast them. I'm not sure if you could roast them instead of drying them for 6 weeks. I don't know, I have to look that up some more. This is a gourd that I grew for the first time this year. You probably recognize it as a loofah. And the first one I pulled off was premature, and I didn't get anything from it. So I'm going to wait till the frost kills the plant. Then I'll try to harvest something. I'm not sure if my still pictures of the garden throughout the summer are going to get uploaded into this. But last year this was where the cucumbers were and peppers. I'm extending that down next year. My gourds will be in this corner. This right now is my cover garden. My tunnel is working well. I lost a lot of greens last year to the cabbage. Here's a quick peek at the other covered bed. As you could tell by looking at this collard, I did a good job of covering it early enough because there is absolutely zero worm damage on all of these leaves. The lettuce, oh gosh, it's beautiful. One of those heads will be one day's meal, so I've got new ones coming up here. All kinds of lettuce, but definitely not enough. Definitely not enough. I had beets in here also, but I had blister beetles in here and they were infested, so I had to pull them all. I did have some other infestations this year. Bean beetles were bad. The ants, as I've